I'm John Seaman, and I'm with Kerry Kautzer, and we're covering the 1998 Brian Redman Merrill Lynch International Challenge at Road America Racetrack at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Today is Sunday, and over this weekend there have been a gathering of vintage and historic race cars from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and cars of historical racing significance of the 1970s, 1970s, and 80s. A lot of the cars gathered here today are Austin Healey's, MG's, Triumphs, Porsches, and Ferraris. The featured mark this racing event are the Can-Am cars. This was a racing series of the 1960s and 70s, and these cars are powered by big bore V8 engines generating close to 800 horsepower. This is the lunch hour here at the track, and the touring session is going around now. The touring session, once your car meets tech inspection, you can pay to get some track time for your car, and the street cars are eligible.
start casting all the way down to the headstone.
The paddock, attention in the paddock. If you have not yet, you ought to visit the big white tent. And at 1 o'clock, Brian Redman.
You should be taking it down by 10, 11 o'clock then.
Vintage Motorsports slot. Services, timesheets, results, grids as they become available. In that vein, our first race call of the weekend for cars in Race Group 8. Race Group 8.
Day 3 of the Brian Redman Challenge. Coming up next, we'll kick off today's racing program. All the women they'll go 8 laps. 50 miles around the course.
Attention in the paddock, attention in the paddock. Permit.
You like King?
We saw that one. I was saying I like the weird.
And John Spur, please call your office right away.
Their 45th wedding anniversary.
I think I'm number 33.
Race Group 2 to the false grid, please.
See, we're kind of like, yeah, you know, it's okay. Having some fun, beating some of the Porsches.
John. Hi, how are you? Good, how are you?
I'm not going to protect their bed. You know what I'm saying? I want to get them going quick.
Sprite. Mark 6 with this one Yellow Green Sprite.
Yeah, we realize how
Mark 15. Number 91 is Bill Stevenson from Grand Rapids. Continuing to work our way through this afternoon's program and qualifying. This is probably the most important qualifying session of the weekend. Coming up next is Group 7 Can-Am about Maryland Brian Redman Invitational Challenge. Incredible display of vintage and historic cars.
I'm with Chuck Haynes, and Chuck is the owner of this interesting car, the Howmett Turbine. Could you tell us a little bit how you acquired the car?
Well, about 10 or 15 years ago, I saw an ad in one of the racing magazines, and the car was for sale in Yonkers, New York. So I called the gentleman and we talked about it and went up and purchased it. It was less engine and transmission at that time, and there were plans to maybe make it like a street car, and which would of course ruin the car, and it would have been lost to the vintage racing world.
Now, did you have an interest in the Howmett Turbine before that? Had you seen it run, or how did you know what it was and that you wanted it?
Well, I knew about the Howmett turbines. There have been so few jet cars that I kind of had a feel for the ones that were out there. Also, I had a number of McKees. I used to race a McKee Can-Am car a little bit, and also I converted two of the cars to the street. And those two cars are here, by the way, in this same tent. So that was many years ago, probably 20 years ago, and that was a blast to run those on the street. So since this chassis was built by Bob McKee also, that was kind of a dual interest, the jet car and the chassis I was familiar with.
So after you got the car, where did you find the engine and how did you go about restoring it?
Well, I had the car for a number of years because there were other cars in line ahead of it to get restored, McLaren Can-Am cars and some Indy cars. In finding the engine, I don't know much about jet engines, so I got some trade-a-plane magazines and started talking to people. We had some help from a couple enthusiasts who are in the industry and work for Allison, and a gentleman in England, Mike Bell, who works for Howmett. So I have two of the three cars. This is chassis 2, and I have chassis 3 also. One of my engines came out of Chicago, and the other one came from the Brazilian Air Force. The engines are high-time helicopter motors, and they have such a little time for flying left on them that they weren't put back in helicopters. The engines amazingly only weigh about 141 pounds, so it makes the car very light. The car weighs about 1,400 pounds without the driver or a lot of fuel. So.
I've noticed that you had the car restored last year. It was here, but this is the first year I think I've seen it on the track here.
Yes, we did have it on the track last year. However, we had a major problem with the starter generator. It's a combination unit for aircraft to save weight, and on Saturday it's hard to find those around Elkhart. So we did run it last year, but we didn't race it because it broke. And then last month I had it in England at Goodwood, and we ran it there at the hill climb, and that's quite a neat event. We had a good time over there.
Well, you're going to have it out in the feature race today, so we're going to watch for the car.
Great. Well, thank you. We're looking forward to it, and we're still kind of shaking it down and getting used to it, but we've had a lot of fun with it this weekend.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm with Bob McKee, and he is one of the innovative developers of race cars back 30 years ago. And the McKee cars are well known for a lot of the race cars and racing that was done then. Bob, could you tell us a little bit about the car behind you first?
Well, the car behind me is the Chevette. It's the second car that we made. Jerry Hansen drove it, about 35 years ago, won 9 races in a row with it. And it was basically the first car that we had built everything on, the transaxle, suspension, frame, and body, and kind of got us in the car building business. So we've been building all sorts of different cars ever since, and we're still doing prototype vehicles, electric vehicles, and alternate fuel vehicles for people in Detroit and all around the world.
Now, when you started out building these cars, were you planning on going into the Can-Am right away? Is that what got you into the McKee cars?
Well, actually, I started out with NASCAR stock cars back when they were stock, when NASCAR was just starting out, and raced with Tiny Lund and then the Pontiac factory team, and then went on to Indianapolis cars when they were really simple, straight axle, like a sprint car that everybody's familiar with here at Plymouth, Wisconsin. And then from there, started building sports cars, and these are all derivatives of those first cars.
The cars have mainly had V8 power plants then?
Yeah, they have, but we've been fortunate and used all sorts of different engines. We've used Chevrolet engine primarily, but we've used a lot of Fords, we've used Hemi Chryslers, we've used a lot of Oldsmobile-powered cars, and all different size engines, and so it's been fun trying the different engines. And then, of course, this car here has a turbine engine in it. And it's a car that we built 30 years ago and ran at Le Mans, France in the 24-hour race in Sebring, Daytona, Watkins Glen.
Now, when you do your chassis development for McKee, were there any special areas that you concentrated on?
No, it's really so many different facets you have to keep in mind when you're designing a car, and so many compromises, not the least of which is trying to make it affordable. And so we used a lot of production car parts. That's why the first cars were called Chevettes, because we used a lot of Chevrolet components and Corvette components in them, and then built our own frame and suspension. But it's very difficult to manufacture cars and sell them commercially and build a business out of doing that.
Now, the car we were just talking about, what power plant does that have in it, and what year is it?
The Howmett car? It has an Allison turbine engine in it, the same engine that's used in the Bell Jet Ranger helicopter and a lot of the small helicopters you see flying around. And it's a two-spool turbine. It's about 165 pounds. It puts out close to 400 horsepower in the configuration that this one is. So it makes a nice, reliable engine. This is one that's been in a helicopter, and after they get so old, they can't keep flying them in a helicopter, because if the engine quits, you've got a big problem. So we can use it in the car, and it's working very well up here this weekend.
Now, what year did you develop the Howmett Turbine car?
It was about 1967 and 68. We built 3 of them, and this is the second one that we have here today.
Now, I saw this car race at Watkins Glen back in the 60s, and one of the problems it seemed to have at that time was the brakes, because you weren't able to rely on the engine for slowing down.
Well, that's still a problem. We have a problem with that up here because Elkhart's one of the toughest places for brakes of any of the circuits that these cars run. With a turbine engine, you haven't got the compression to slow it down, and the engine's going 65,000 RPM inside, so it's just very difficult to get it all slowed down for the corner.
What type of fuel does that engine use?
Well, it's kerosene, JP4 they call it when they use it for aircraft, but it's basically the same kerosene you'd put in a kerosene lantern.
What got into the idea of using a turbine in the car?
Well, Howmett is in the business of making castings and things of titanium and stainless for the aircraft industry. And they weren't very well known in this country. They thought if they ran a race car, it would get them noticed worldwide. So they sponsored the 2 cars and ran them all over the world, and we're pretty successful. This is the only car to ever win a race with a turbine engine in it, so that's pretty good, and it's got 6 world records that it holds, so they did get some notoriety from it, and hopefully it helped their business, and it was a fun project for us to do.
So how do you like the vintage races here, Bob? I'm sure you must enjoy coming back and seeing the cars that you were close to back on the years ago.
Yeah, it's great to come back and see all these old cars. We've got 5 or 6 of the cars we built here today, and it's really good to see them come back to life after 30 years and somebody out there still enjoying them.
Yeah. And some of the drivers from 30 years ago are back too.
Well, that's right. They're, the drivers have gotten bigger and rounder, and the tires were skinny back when we raced them.
beautiful 212 Ferrari Pininfarina Vintage.
It makes it all work. He's Hispanic, like well, I've done the motorcycle drivers.
Try to get him off as soon as possible.
second, Craig Bennett taking the overall win. Kurt Bennett with a problem. We had speculated that he'd blown up some fiberglass on the front straightaway, but it was actually a tire went away. So he blew a tire, was unhurt, was able to make his way back around the outside of the racetrack. So tough break for the driver of the Shadow, who had started at the pole, and he had kind of looked at me in the overall winner.
Struggling at 9, yeah.
Talked to Charlie Ag. Charlie, I thought you were going to really miss.
Well, there we go. It's one of those days. There's a bit of traffic I got stuck behind, and Kurt deciding to blow his car up on the main street didn't help my confidence.
When you came up on the shrapnel, you don't got much time to make a decision there.
Well, my view was if it went to turn 1 and didn't slide off, the car would stay up.
But the little pieces that were bouncing around on the track, that's got to be just a little unnerving.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it was either go through it or stop, and I wasn't going to stop.
All right, the times, you guys wicked your lap times down. You went from 2.9s, 2.10s down to turn 7, or down to 2.07s in about a half a lap. At which point did you decide to turn it up?
When Craig went in front of me and started going a bit too quick, I thought, not letting him get away with it.
It was ironic, too, because looking at those lap times, y'all both kind of leveled off, and we're turning lap times that were very similar. So you got a distance up there and couldn't close it up.
My brother was real lucky, but what a day for our motorsports. It's the second race out for Charlie's car, and this car, it's great, just great to win, first and second.
Ironic that you could drive Charlie's old car, he drives another car and finishes second to you. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, it was a great race. It's a shame my brother dropped out. I would love to have a 1, 2, 3 for our motorsports, but maybe next year.
Excellent race. You like this Can-Am stuff here, especially Road America?
Yeah, I did my first Can-Am race here when I was 18, 19 years old, so I've been running the Can-Am for quite a while.
Congratulations, incredible round.
Thank you very much.
Second place will go to Charlie Ag.
Well, Charlie, I want to thank Charlie Ag, Craig and Kurt Bennett, Jim Bartelt, and of course Joe Hish down at turn 5, because on Tuesday night we had a Merrill Lynch cocktail party at the David Hobbs Honda down in Milwaukee, and they did a great job, brought a lot of these cars in, and we had some very enthusiastic people there that night, and I want to thank everybody. And of course I also want to thank Road America, Merrill Lynch, and my old buddy Brian Redman for allowing me to be the Grand Marshal this weekend. Grand by name and grand by nature, I say. So it gives me great pleasure to give the second place trophy to Charlie Ag. Charlie, great race.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Scotch.
We've got lots of scotches coming in. Listen to that sound, the sound of chiming bells. First place overall, of course, a great race there is the number 44, that great red Lola from 1971, Craig Bennett. Well done, Craig. Winner of the B class, Lowell Blossom. Harry Matthews, this third from Colorado, right. Big article in the program. Harry Matthews, third place overall, great run there.
Take this opportunity to introduce a guy who's been kind of hanging back in the shadows, but now he needs to come into the light. Please welcome Bob Tilius. Come on up. One of the most famous race car drivers of our time. And we're proud and happy to have him here to present the Denny Hulme Award to the driver that exemplifies the spirit and thrill of racing. This is a beautiful award. And Bob, we really appreciate you making this presentation here this afternoon.
Well, I understand it. I understand it's for Bob Lee. And where is he?
He's not here. He's in the pit.
Well, that's his wife. Why is Bob Lee in the pits and not here? But anyhow, Mrs. Lee,
come on
would
down.
you be kind enough? Yes, accepting, if Bob is aware of this presentation, or he can hear it, is he? Was he waving to us at all?
I don't know.
Can he hear us over there?
Yeah, he can hear you.
Well, anyhow, this is a lovely trophy, and much larger than any Hobbs or I ever got, so he ought to be mighty proud of it, and certainly is a very deserving young man for having represented the Can-Am series. Well, I wish he was too. But I'm sure that he'll enjoy having this trophy, and it's very kind of you to be here. Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate everybody on a fine race, and our Merrill Lynch Awards are not given to a race winner necessarily, but to somebody who represents motorsport in a fine fashion, who enjoys vintage racing, and is a good person to have at events like this. And the first one goes to Skip Gunnell from Florida. Skip, are you here? No. Right, that's that. It's easily solved. The second one goes to Henry Wilkinson. I know Henry's here because I've seen him. And the third and last one goes to Lowell Blossom, but he was being towed in, wasn't he? He's not here. So we'll have to find them out. Very many thanks for attending this event.
Please, race from 6 to the false green.
Very few times do winners lose in the winner's circle, but Harry Matthews loses the Champagne race.
with John Dellane, and he has one of the Tyrrell cars, a Grand Prix car from 1971. Could you tell us about the car and some of its racing history, John?
Sure. The car is a 1971 chassis number 002 Tyrrell, built by Ken Tyrrell for the 71 season. My car is actually the second Tyrrell built. The first built by the Tyrrell Works that they opened shortly into the 71 season. Prior to that time, they had been running a March chassis for Jackie Stewart, and when Ken Tyrrell decided to hire a young Frenchman by the name of Francois Sever to be his second team driver, he elected to build a backup car for Jackie Stewart's original Chassis 1, which became my car, Chassis 2. Chassis 2 was very successful with a number of top 6 finishes during the 1971 season. Sever had his most successful race at the U.S. Grand Prix at Watkins Glen in 71, having won there. He finished third in the World Championship in this car for the 71 season, and his teammate Jackie Stewart won the World Championship in 1971 in the sister car, Chassis 3. So the car has a tremendous history and was an extremely successful benchmark car for the Grand Prix Series.
How did you come about acquiring the car?
The car has been one I've lusted after for a very long time. I've been vintage racing about 10 years, but I've followed Grand Prix racing for 30 plus, and back in the 70s got a chance to see the car race at the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, and not long after that acquired a poster of Jackie Stewart racing the car at Monza in 1971, and it's hung on the wall in our house for the better part of 20 years, and I've tried to figure out a way to get to it, and it finally came up for sale a year or so ago. I couldn't afford it initially, and finally the existing owner decided to part with it at a reasonable price, so we came to terms about 5 months ago.
It's a beautiful car. Have you been able to drive it around the track out here?
We just run back-to-back weekends. We were at Watkins Glen last weekend for the Formula 1 reunion there, and then all weekend here. We had some engine problems at the Glen, but the car did finish. We did a valve job here and got the car freshened, and so we've been running all weekend, having a marvelous time. It's a lot more car than I am driver, but it's absolutely a fabulous car and great to have it out to show off. We've had a huge amount of attention of people coming to the track. It's really been enjoyable to talk to people about the car. A lot of people saw the car race when it was new.
It's a very significant car, and I'm certainly glad to see it back in racing condition.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Reshuffles a little bit. Looks like they will not be restarting this race. Gallant charge to go his, but he will be bumped out of second place. Number 3 Warren was not good. This is Tom DePagter from Sheboygan Falls. This is another paid-off Indy car, Lola T890. Where Vintage was not able to change down.
Mustang class. We got Lola IndyCar, number 44, George Stauffer, and the AH region.